one more rep. That's all you've got all the time. This is Brian Cain with the Mental Performance Daily Podcast, and today we're continuing my Monday Book Battalion, where I break down a book of the week that I'm going through. I use the Heroic app with my friend Brian Johnson and his team at Heroic. You can find out more about the app in the show notes below. Today, we're breaking down the book Raise Your Game, High Performance Secrets from the Best of the Best by Alan Stein. Now, without question, my favorite story that Alan shares in the book is he's doing an event called Hell in the Hill. You can look this up online. It's at Jesse Itzler's house in New York. Jesse Itzler was at one point the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, married to the youngest female billionaire, Sarah Blakely. And at their beautiful home in New York, they have this hill, and they call the event Hell on the Hill. And you have to run up this hill about 100 times. And my friend Steve Wojciechowski, who is the basketball coach at Marquette University, he got an invitation to go do Hell on the Hill. And him and Alan are there, and they're running up this hill. And then you walk back down, you run back up, walk back down, and you do it however long it takes. And when Alan and Steve were both suffering late in the run of Hell on the Hill, Alan looks over at Wojo and says, "Wojo, how many more you got?" And he's suffering going up the hill, and he goes, "One." And Alan starts thinking to himself, how can he have one more to go? He's got to be cutting it short. I've passed Wojo a couple times, and I'm not nearly done. How is it that he's got one left? And a couple steps later, he looks at him and goes, yeah, 75 more times, as he keeps running up Hell on the Hill. I remember training with Wojo in the hills of Milwaukee, Wisconsin for this event. And I think it's such a great idea that we all can take and use is I've got one more rep, one more day, one more game. It's the biggest day in the history of your life today as you're listening to Mental Performance Daily. Why? Because it's today. And whether it's you listening to a podcast from Tim Revay, the girls basketball coach at Ellensburg High School that just pulled off a perfect undefeated season in a state championship, or Matt Carpenter, who is playing for the San Diego Padres that you heard from, or maybe it's one of our players that we're going to bring on here who's been Conference Player of the Week, or we're going to bring on head coaches for sound bites here inside of Mental Performance Daily to expand our network and expand our bandwidth so you get to learn from others as well. One of the things you'll find is they all make the big time where they are. So if you want to raise your game, if you want to be a high performer, realize you've just got one left, however many times it takes until you get to the finish. And then once you get to that finish, you will realize there are no finish lines. You just reset your goal, you reset the next race, you see the next finish line, and you just get back to work. So let's do the work today, present, with passion, where our feet are, and let's dominate the day.
Thanks for checking out Mental Performance Daily with Brian Cain, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating, review, and comments. We'll see you tomorrow.